as soon as the present air raid is over. It is signed by the senior SS officer. The last entry in his logbook.
Friday nights for romance on LWT. Out of the Shadows, a romantic thriller with Charles Dance and Alexandra Paul caught up in smuggling and murder. Next Friday, 7:40. What secret could dash the hopes of love for Sharon Stone and Christopher Cazenove in Tears in the Rain? Sunchild, Twiggy and James Fox in a moving story of a marriage heading for the rocks. Romance for Friday nights.
Next tonight, the news at 10 with Carol Barnes and John Suchet.
Is that in your perm, he asked. I said no. Why? It feels so soft and bouncy. So I revealed my secret. It's all thanks to Elegance by L'Oreal, an amazing new conditioner designed specially for permed hair. How does it work, he asked. Elegance is incredible, I told him. My hair's so soft, and yet my perm looks like new. You're really lucky, he said. I replied, you're the lucky one.
New Elegance softens your hair without relaxing your perm.
When you're on the move, be busy. Time for something fresh and busy. Fanta. When orange fizzes, it's Fanta. Right down to your feet, right up to your nose. When orange fizzes, the pleasure shows. When you find new friends, it's a sparkling feel. When it tastes as good, it's got juice to feel. When orange fizzes, it's Fanta. When orange fizzes, it's Fanta.
Next week, the Comet sale comes to an end. You know where to come.
Don Swan drinks Draft Swan Light. It's a fully brewed lager that's low in alcohol. Perfect for a man who leads a busy life. Anything's possible when you swan lightly.
Why chance anything less?
There's a feeling that can hit you anytime and any place. No matter what you're doing, you've got to get that taste.
Outbreak, we're talking fried chicken. It's a taste that can't be beat. There's one who knows the secret of why it's good to eat.
It's delicious tender chicken, perfect bites too. It brings the taste so secret, deliciously to you. It's Kentucky Fried Chicken, Kentucky Fried Chicken for you.
The secret's in the taste.
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yes, we have a 12 in the blue.
With the scalloped neck.
Yes, a 12 in the blue with a scalloped neck.
And in the white?
Yes, we have a 12 in the white.
And do you have the 14 in the blue?
I thought Madam was a 12.
Well, normally, yes, but you see, if the cut is on the smallish side, they're not generous these days, you know what I mean? They skimp around the armhole.
Yes, we have a 14 in the blue.
And in the white?
And in the white, and in the green, and in the pink.
Green? Oh, now, do you have a 12 in the green?
Yes, we have a 12 in the green.
And in...
And in the pink!
Before you shop, why not call and make sure they've got exactly what you want?
So, you've got all of the colours in both of the sizes.
All the colours in all sizes.
You haven't sold out of anything.
Nothing at all.
It's not what you call all the rage, is it?
British Telecom. It's you we answer to.
You can join Dustin Hoffman, Dave Allen and Sting in a new series of Aspel Company starting next weekend on LWT. I'll Take Manhattan.
Shuttle, this is Lily. I think it'd look odd if we shook hands, wouldn't it?
A new LWT mini-series.
This is your sister-in-law, in case you hadn't heard.
In Judith Grantz's I'll Take Manhattan, he takes his brother's wife, then his brother's empire.
Yesterday, your mother and I were married.
How could you do this so soon after Daddy's death?
I'll not be judged by you or by anyone else.
I'll Take Manhattan next weekend on LWT.
Hello, a new survey has found glue sniffing among London children is at record levels. And at Holloway Prison, there's a hitch over the return to work by strikers. More after news at 10.
Will be extradited. They're gathering at the jail. The funerals of 6 soldiers who died in the coach bomb attack. The explosive that killed them, can the flow be stopped? There's a welcome at Crossroads for President Botha. And getting into carnival mood, but police prepare for the worst. Good evening. Security forces on both sides of the Irish border are tonight preparing for the extradition to Northern Ireland of the IRA man Robert Russell, who escaped from the Maze prison. Russell finishes a 3-year jail sentence in the Republic tonight and is due to be handed over to the RUC sometime after midnight. His final appeal against extradition failed in Dublin this evening.
It was in his cell in Dublin's Mountjoy prison that the convicted IRA terrorist was brought the news that his 4-year fight against extradition had finally ended in defeat.
Release Robert Russell! No extradition!
Russell was not in court to hear the judgment. He'll now be taken up to the border sometime after midnight tonight. His lawyer asked the High Court to grant an interim injunction against the extradition, a 2-week stay to allow the Minister of Justice here to consider a fresh appeal for his release. The judge said that every avenue under the law and the Constitution had been made available to Russell. Yet the High Court had refused his application, the Supreme Court had refused his application. The judge said it would be wrong for him to allow it. Another legal move by the former Westminster MP, Mrs. McAliskey, better remembered as Bernadette Devlin, was thrown out.
By fair means or foul, Mr. Russell will be taken to that part of the national territory to be tried by a foreign court, which has no jurisdiction under the Constitution to try him.
Tonight, a silent vigil by Sinn Féin protesters is still being kept up outside Mountjoy prison. And in a move calculated to allay the genuine misgivings many people harbour here about the extradition process in the Republic, the Irish Attorney General tonight has appointed a senior member of the bar in Northern Ireland to attend and observe the trial. Robert Russell will finish his 3-year term of imprisonment here in just under 2 hours' time at midnight. The Irish authorities will then be free to hand him over to the IUC at any time they judge fit. David Chater, News at 10 in Dublin.
This is the border point at Killeen, which has now been sealed off by the security forces and where Robert Russell will be handed over to the RUC. The road where Sinn Féin supporters and Republican sympathisers had gathered to protest is now deserted in preparation for the extradition. 4 years ago, INLA leader Dominic McGlinchey was handed over at this spot, though he was later returned to the south. The same year, amid rowdy scenes, Seamus Shannon was extradited on a murder charge. He was later acquitted. This time, security forces on both sides of the border are trying to eliminate all risks. The exact details of this handover have been classed top secret, but the fact that soldiers spent this evening laying out barbed wire across fields added to the speculation that Russell will be flown on some stage of his journey north. As extra troops were helicoptered into the area tonight, Russell's sympathisers kept up a roadside vigil. They have said there will be a mass demonstration when the handover takes place, but it's doubtful they will be allowed to get close to the IRA man. They have organised a series of anti-extradition protests, but it's now certain Russell will be returning to the Maze prison in the north. In 1983, Robert Russell escaped from here, the Maze prison, during the mass breakout. At the time, he was serving a 20-year jail sentence. His extradition route will end here. Within 24 hours, he'll be back to continue his sentence and to face 7 new charges related to his escape. Terry Lloyd, News at 10 at the Maze prison.
5 of the 8 soldiers killed by the IRA coach bomb were buried today with full military honours. Thousands of mourners in towns across England attended the funerals. Andrew Simmons reports.
Like most of those murdered by the IRA 6 days ago, Private Jason Winter was young and single. In the drizzle of a churchyard, the 19-year-old soldier, like his comrades, was accorded full military honours. Private Blair Bishop, also aged 19, had followed his father into the army. Today he was laid to rest beside him. 18-year-old Private Mark Norsworthy was also from an army family. He hadn't planned to be on the coach, but was delayed after meeting a friend en route. At Private Peter Bullock's funeral, his motorcyclist friends joined in the military service, and the SLD leader, Paddy Ashdown, the local MP, was also present. Private Stephen Wilkinson was the North East's top cadet when he was 16. That was only 2 years ago. His mother said he lived for the army. Like Mrs. Wilkinson had once done, parents today poured into the Light Division's Winchester barracks to see their sons in a passing out parade. By tradition, cause for celebration, but today a minute's silence marked the start of the ceremony. The inspecting officer was Lieutenant General Sir Robert Pascoe, who until 3 months ago had been Northern Ireland's General Commanding Officer. He told the new recruits they would have to fight terrorism and defeat the IRA. Over 80 soldiers were passed out today. 13 will see immediate service in Ulster, taking up postings left open in Oman.
A funeral service was also held for another of the dead soldiers, 21-year-old Private Richard Greener from Tyne and Wear. His family had asked for a private ceremony.
Czechoslovakia has promised to help Britain stop the IRA's supply of semtex explosive. Czechs are the only people who make it. It has no smell, but now they're trying to give it one to help sniffer dogs track it down.
It was the explosive semtex in the bomb that killed the 8 soldiers in the bus attack. It's been used increasingly by the IRA over the past 2 years. Semtex is very light and easy to hide in clothing or luggage and has virtually no smell, making it hard even for trained sniffer dogs to find. Now the Czechs have promised to investigate ways to make it easier for the explosive to be traced, possibly by giving it a distinctive smell.
You see, any explosive contains about 10% of unexplosive materials, sawdust and chemicals of that sort. So you can put in that 10% anything you like.
So you could put something that smelled strongly?
Or something that was detectable.
Last November, French Coast Guards intercepted the coast of Exland, carrying 2 tons of semtex for the IRA and believed to be one of several shipments from Libya, which imports semtex from Czechoslovakia. Only last weekend, a cache of 70 mortar bombs made with semtex was found in the Irish Republic. Czechoslovakia categorically deny knowingly supplying it to any terrorist group and say they'll do what they can to trace the arms smugglers' route. The Foreign Office say they're satisfied with the Czechoslovak response.
There's a new row about the authenticity of the Turin Shroud, revered by many Catholics as Christ's burial shroud. A report in London's Evening Standard newspaper said tests here show the shroud was made only 600 years ago, not 2000. The scientific advisor to the Cardinal of Turin accused British scientists of leaking confidential details.
Since its initial appearance 600 years ago, the Turin Shroud has remained one of the world's mysteries. Is it really the cloth in which the crucified body of Christ was wrapped, as millions have believed, or is it an elaborate hoax devised in the Middle Ages? In a bid to determine its exact age, scientists in Oxford, Switzerland and Arizona started to carbon date pieces of cloth from the shroud last spring. The results from the 3 testing centres are now in. but the secrecy surrounding them at the British Museum's laboratory has been shattered by today's report of a leak of the Oxford findings that the shroud is a fake.
Well, I'm not really prepared to comment. I'm not prepared to deny or confirm it. My brief in all this is to provide a final figure for the date of the shroud and the 3 control samples, and to send this to Turin, who will then release the result. And as yet, we do not have a final figure. I have the results from the 3 laboratories. I've circulated these results to the laboratories with a sort of with a proposal for a coordinated date of the shroud and the samples, but I haven't heard from anyone as yet.
So, for the moment, the ancient mystery continues. We'll know whether today's reports are really true in 5 weeks. Whatever news the Vatican's grand announcement brings, interest in the shroud shows no sign of waning.
American Army chief said tonight the former U.S. sergeant accused of running a spy ring in West Germany had top-secret security clearance. Clyde Lee Conrad's in prison now, charged with selling NATO secrets to the Russians.
Experts at the Pentagon and the CIA are still assessing the extent of the damage to NATO security from this latest spy scandal. Officials said today that from his home in a quiet German suburb, former U.S. Army Sergeant Clyde Conrad, seen here in a home video, may have supplied U.S. and NATO plans for the defense of Western Europe to a Hungarian agent who passed them on to Moscow. Conrad retired from this U.S. Army base in Germany in 1985. He'd been the archivist in charge of the vaults where America's 8th Army Division stored its highly classified battle plans. If there'd been a war between the Warsaw Pact and NATO in the past 10 years, then those plans could already have been in Russian hands, from tactics to radio links, tank refueling pipelines to rocket storage depots. And it's not as simple as just writing new plans.
Start with the threat, and then you build your plans to meet the threat, and then you buy your forces to meet the plans. So it's not something that's quickly changed.
Since 1984, 20 Americans have been convicted of selling their country's secrets. In 1985, the Walker family sold the Russians full details of America's submarine operations, a devastating blow to the U.S. Navy. The same year, this man, Ronald Pelton, gave the Russians one of the most critical U.S. secrets ever lost, details of a highly secret plan whereby American submarines laid underwater sensors to monitor Russian submarine traffic. All this hasn't stopped the substantial thaw in U.S.-Russian relations, but some experts say that brings new problems.
Despite perestroika and glasnost and the fact that Gorbachev has a pretty wife who uses an American Express card, the activities of the KGB and its allies throughout the Eastern Bloc are indeed unrelenting and carried on with ant-like intensity.
Experts say it's too early to assess the full extent of the damage done by Conrad, but one indication may be the sums of money involved. It was reported today that he was paid over $1 million for the secrets he sold to the Russians. Ken Reese, News at 10, Washington.
Still in America, the FBI and NASA are investigating possible sabotage on the Shuttle program. At the factory which makes the rubber seals for the booster rockets, a woman worker has been charged with making deliberate cuts in them. It was an O-ring seal failure which caused the Challenger disaster in 1986, in which 7 astronauts died.
James Dockstader said that there was sabotage in the building, and we were supposed to keep it quiet, but the person who did it was to come forward.
Mrs. Crocker has been charged with sabotage, a charge she bitterly denies.
The person that's doing it is still up there cutting the rings, and they will stay up there cutting the rings. You're going to let me go, and it's the wrong thing to do. Somebody could get hurt.
The rocket manufacturers say all the problems have now been sorted out.
Here, Jaguar cars halved their profits in the first 6 months of this year. They say the strong pound is making them too expensive in America. Jaguar's chairman, Sir John Egan, says productivity has to increase and 1,200 jobs could go over the next 3 years.
Like Mr. Lawson's Britain, Jaguar is in part victim to its own success. Rationalization and a new model program dragged it from the brink of collapse in the 70s, restored its image and captured a growing slice of sales in America, the world's richest market for luxury cars. Last autumn's stock market collapse and the weak dollar chopped back US sales. Targets had to be pruned. The best-selling XJ6 was retailing in the States for $40,500. Now, mostly because the exchange rate has worsened for British exporters, the same car costs an extra $3,000. But Jaguar expects no special favours from the Chancellor.
I think it's almost inevitable, as the economy grows in strength, that the pound will grow with it.
And I believe that we will have to respond by being more cost effective.
That means pruning the Coventry workforce by 1,200 over 3 years and raising output per worker from 4.5 to 6 cars a year. Mercedes is the main competition in the market and streets ahead in efficiency, but Jaguar sees Japanese methods of continuous productivity improvement as the yardstick. Jaguar hopes its investment in recapturing supremacy on the racetrack, winning both Daytona and Le Mans, will now pay dividends in the showroom.
President Botha of South Africa has visited the Crossroads township near Cape Town. 2 years ago it was devastated in riots between right and left-wing black factions. The right-wing groups cheered and sang for him today.
This was only President Botha's third visit to a black township, and security was intense, the welcome carefully controlled as he toured a settlement his government in the past had sought to remove. These scenes very different from 2 years ago, when 100 people were killed and 60,000, mainly anti-apartheid activists, were displaced for good. In Crossroads today, inside a job training centre, Mr. Botha was at ease and full of praise for those working with the government.
To boycott is easy, but it leads nowhere. To cooperate is sometimes difficult, and to take responsibility is sometimes difficult, but history only remembers those who build and not those who destroy.
Those blacks who have cooperated are seeing their loyalty rewarded in bricks and mortar, to which Mr. Botha gave symbolic support.
The irony of President Botha's visit is that only this week his government introduced measures which would crack down harder than ever on illegal squatters.
And outside Durban today, just such a group faced eviction by a property developer. But their brief defiance was in vain, and in the end, another shanty town was razed to the ground. Kevin Dunn, News at 10 in South Africa.
Here, more than 1 million people and a third of London's police force are expected at this weekend's Notting Hill Carnival. The organisers say come along and have a good time, but don't cause any trouble. A report coming next. Plus, you'll recover more quickly if the tape tells you you will. And England's wicketkeeper turns batsman for England's top score at Lord's. That's in a couple of minutes.
If you're fed up with this, and you want more of this, put this to the test. If things go astray, we'll show you the way. Put best to the test. Best has more of what you're looking for. If your weekly seems weak, pick up something unique. So put best to the test. Don't settle for less. At your news agent now.
Men of steel. But to make it in steel these days, you need brains as well as brawn. You have to move nimbly in such a competitive industry, so more and more of our plant is highly automated. Our research and development is highly advanced, and our products are in high demand. Our costs are down and our productivity is up. British Steel is one of the world's most profitable integrated steel makers. British Steel, in shape for things to come.
Ethel and Brenda just love new, improved Nouvelle kitchen towels. Now stronger, softer, and more absorbent. They almost look forward to the odd accident. New, improved Nouvelle. Now with adent.
Yeah, hello. I'm looking for a good way into Australian mining. Via Holborn.
Whatever your investment needs, the surer way to the city is via Holborn. Prudential Holborn.
I'm not really sure how much it's going to be yet.
Well, you only need £1 to open a bonus builder account, so it doesn't matter.
Richard, stand still. Sorry.
Don't worry. Hello. If you have a look at this, and these are the interest rates we're paying currently at each level. You get a higher rate of interest when your balance reaches £500, and then it goes up level by level. You can get your money whenever you need
Dad, what do I get?
You get these. Thanks. I'll nip in tomorrow.
Fine.
Nationwide Anglia, helping you make the most of your money.
Dad, can I have some money?
No.
The organisers of this weekend's Notting Hill Carnival say they've now signed up 500 volunteer stewards, enough to satisfy the police that they can help keep order. 10,000 police will also be there, a third of the entire metropolitan force. More than 1 million people are expected. Tonight, Scotland Yard told troublemakers to stay away.
Today the streets were full of market stalls, but this weekend the fruit sellers will be cleared aside and the handful of police will swell to thousands as Notting Hill stages the largest street carnival in Europe. Around Ladbroke Grove, the joiners were hard at work. These are precautionary measures. Police and organisers hope they will not be needed. Today, the Carnival Committee were also anxious to infuse a positive note in their last press conference before the celebrations.
We are going to work with the police to maintain every form of law and order that is possible so that the carnival can go through peacefully and happily.
In the build-up to this year's carnival, the committee has come under fire, accused of mismanagement and of failing to provide the 500 stewards they promised would man the event.
It is a fact that we have over 500 stewards. I say over 500 stewards. What we do not have yet in our hands is the money. But regardless, we have 500 stewards, and I'm very happy.
What we basically asked them to do is to use their discretion in approaching people who intend to misbehave and warn them off. If they then refuse to be warned off, we will then have no option but to ask the cooperation of the Metropolitan Police.
This year, both sides have agreed to end the event at dusk to try to stop a repeat of last year's violence, mostly committed after dark. At last year's carnival, police recorded 1,190 serious crimes. Of those, there were 427 thefts, 182 violent robberies, 117 assaults on the public, and 6 assaults on police officers, as well as 1 murder. This year, among the police will be a few special squads who will only go in if things get really serious. They'll be wearing a body armour made of a strong synthetic material with special abdominal protection, which will be covered by a blue overall. They'll also use shin guards and steel toe protector boots. Each officer will have a crash helmet to protect his head and will wear gloves and carry a riot shield and a wooden truncheon. But as long as they're not needed, the vast majority of the forces on standby will never be seen. Instead, officers will be encouraged to join in with those who want Carnival to be a success, a celebration of music and movement for more than 50 bands and upwards of 1 million people. If it is not, the future of the event looks decidedly uncertain.
In spite of the bad publicity, the carnival for these youngsters is something to look forward to with excitement and expectation. They've spent months working on their costumes in a makeshift workshop. There are dozens more all over the capital. For them, carnival is an explosion of fun, spectacle and noise.
Everyone's having fun and laughing and enjoying themselves.
It means you're proud of your skin and that.
Is that important to you? For black people, the Notting Hill Carnival is more than just a street festival, more even than a time to be proud of being black. It's a statement about Britain's commitment to a multiracial society. The carnival's origins go back to when West Indian immigrants first came here 40 years ago. Many had to live in slums in Notting Hill. It was there in 1958 that white mobs ran amok, attacking blacks and petrol bombing their homes. In the aftermath, a stunned West Indian community devised the idea of a carnival to bring white and black together in peace. The author of a new book on the period says that spirit is still around.
Carnival maintains its positive aspects and is still today, 30 years later, designed to improve race relations in a peaceful and harmonic manner.
Banning the carnival is unthinkable to West Indians, who see it as a way for tens of thousands of blacks and whites to express their belief in a multiracial society.
The former Labour MP, Lord Peart of Workington, has died of bronchial pneumonia. He was 74. As Fred Peart, he served during the 1960s and 70s as Agriculture Minister and Leader of the Commons. He opposed the Common Market's agricultural policy and thought Britain should leave the Common Market. Lord Peart was a leading voice in Britain's fishing dispute with Iceland and supported the use of the Navy during the Cod War. South Korea's Olympic organisers have told the North Koreans they'll still be welcome if they make a last-minute decision not to boycott the Games. This latest invitation came as the final preparations got underway to greet nearly 14,000 athletes from more than 160 countries who will be going to Seoul.
Seoul is sharpening up for the biggest event in its history. The Taekwondo team high-kicking through their routine with the sort of precision and discipline that's made Korea one of the great economic success stories. In the Olympic Stadium today, 12,000 young Koreans were rehearsing for the opening ceremony of the 24th Olympiad, a showcase of Korea's achievement. It'll be the largest gathering of the Olympic family in 16 years. For once, the superpowers will all be here. No boycotts from Russia, China, or the United States. 161 nations in all. But significantly, one flag was missing from the parade, that of North Korea. While the proud and patriotic South Koreans happily beat their own drum, they still yearn to be reunited with their communist kinsmen in the North. But the breakdown of political talks between the two Koreas today has revived the threat of conflict. The South has long feared that a jealous North would try to spoil their party. The organizer of this £2 billion extravaganza says the invitation is still valid.
We are honestly hoping for their participation in the Olympics. At least they can send a team to Seoul.
And what if the North Koreans don't come?
Well, it is disappointing to the world.
Dangerous to the world?
No, I don't think so.
It seems the South are willing to leave the door open until the very last minute in the hope that their northern neighbours will join their Olympic family. But with only 3 weeks to go, the chances of the North coming south are receding with every day. While the military parachutists came in peace, the rest of South Korea's security forces were on full alert. Jeremy Thompson, News at 10, Seoul.
Here, the latest medical breakthrough is a cassette recorder, according to doctors at a top London hospital. Patients under anaesthetic at St Thomas's Hospital are played tapes with reassuring messages, and it seems to help them recover more quickly.
The tape was played to 19 women patients under general anaesthetic, having hysterectomies. Throughout their operations, it repeated reassuring phrases.
You won't be troubled by pain, and you'll be able to go home very soon, completely well again.
Nurses noticed an instant improvement in the patient's recovery.
They came round from general anesthetic quite quickly, and they were up on the feet the following day with little help. And they were in the hospital in less time.
The 19 patients were allowed to leave hospital over a day earlier than usual. Doctors say this could save the health service millions of pounds a year. The tapes seem to dispel a patient's fears.
We know that stress, for example, can influence rate of recovery, and so I suppose it's possible that these instructions had a generalised relaxing effect or a generalised stress-reducing effect. But really, that's a question that we have to address in further research.
The tape lasts 12 minutes. More trials are being planned to find out which comforting phrases have the most effect on patients. Brenda Rowe, News at 10, St Thomas's Hospital.
Cricket. England's new wicket-keeper Jack Russell was the top-scoring batsman against the Sri Lankans at Lord's today. Russell's 94 pushed England along to 278 for 3 when rain stopped play, 84 ahead.
Gooch took more than 3 hours to dawdle to his 50 against probably the weakest test attack in the world. He seemed to know it wasn't worth very much. But the night watchman Russell was a revelation, his 50 more than making up for his surprising wicket-keeping errors of yesterday. The curiously subdued Gooch eventually managed to get himself out to Ratanaka for 75. But Russell, choosing his first test to get his highest score ever in first-class cricket, powered on. Until just 6 short of a maiden century, he holed out at cover. He looked as though he thought it was the end of the world, but it had been a superb effort by night watchman, even against Sri Lanka. But there was no respite for the visitors. The newcomer Barnett setting out his stall for selection for the Indian tour, even as captain if Gooch declines.
and the old stager Lamb, making sure England weren't going to lose what's been cruelly called the match to decide the worst test team in the world. It all seemed a bit overcautious when they accepted the umpire's offer of bad light with 16 overs to go. The spectators were not amused. Giles Smith, ITN Sport, Lords.
The rain had the best of it in the Britannic Assurance County Championship, with most matches disrupted. In what play was possible, Ashley Metcalf, 216 against Middlesex, the best for Yorkshire since boycott in 1971. Paul Parker, a captain, 77 not out for Sussex against Kent. Bruce Roberts, 71, to guide Derby to a first innings lead over Northants. Lancashire's Graham Fowler, 92 not out against Surrey at the Oval. And Hampshire's Kevin James, 3 for 4, to make Somerset struggle at Taunton. And just the main story again. Security forces are tonight preparing for the extradition to Northern Ireland of the IRA man Robert Russell. Carol.
And that's the news tonight. From John and me, good night.
Hello. Glue sniffing among London children is at record levels, according to new figures given to LWT News. The campaign against solvent abuse says 1 in 6 children have tried it.
Despite a 10-year campaign, countless deaths and wrecked lives, solvent abuse in the region is at a record level and shows no sign of tailing off. The highest number of youngsters experimenting is in the 13 to 14-year-old age group. Mark Billington was one of those statistics. He's now kicked the habit and is a counsellor. He's concerned how easy it is for youngsters to lay their hands on solvents like lighter fuel.
It depends how old you look. If you can go in a shop and you can look 18, all you've got to say to them is you're 18 and they'll give it to you.
They have about 70 sniffers seeking help at any one time at campaign headquarters, each one with a tragic story of addiction. And there's a mother in Surrey whose story everyone should hear. She's Christine Green, whose 14-year-old daughter, Joanne, died after sniffing aerosol a year ago.
They walked to a multi-storey car park, went to the top floor, and she inhaled it and collapsed, and her heart failed.
One young person dies from solvent abuse in Britain every 3 days. John Cookson, LWT News.
A 32-year-old man is being questioned by police after the body of a teenage angler was found by the canal in Ladbroke Grove. He'd been stabbed to death. There's been a hitch over a return to work by striking prison officers at Holloway. They say management have gone back on undertakings given in a peace formula ironed out last weekend. Management say there's disagreement over the small print, but they expect normal working to be resumed by Tuesday. A massive jam session is underway at Wormwood Scrubs. It's a warm-up for the weekend's Notting Hill Carnival. Mark Dyson's there.
Well, they've set up this huge marquee on Wormwood Scrubs. It's full of musicians, about 200 musicians, steel bands, mostly from London, but there's one from Trinidad. Clive, is this just a warm-up for the carnival, or is there more to it than that?
Well, it's a warm-up for the carnival and a wind-down from the panorama, the serious practice over the past 2 months.
Well, about the carnival itself, Victor, how are arrangements going?
We're going very well at the moment. We've had all the shows that we were looking for, and we hope that the carnival would be a peaceful and happy one.
Well, I hope so too. Let's hear some music.
Well, who said the government can't take a joke? The Department of Employment will even pay you to tell one. And Brian Knight's the living proof. He's getting £40 a week grant to train as a stand-up comic.
Brian Knight's ambition to become a top comic is no joke. He's determined to succeed despite his physical handicap. The 30-year-old former motor mechanic from Basildon has a spinal disorder and has undergone 12 operations. His showbiz career started when a friend, who's a pub entertainer, encouraged him to have a go. It worked, and soon he was down the job centre applying for a government grant to train for his new profession. Brian says he doesn't mind if people laugh at him because of his appearance, and he believes his act helps other handicapped people come to terms with their disabilities.
Usually I come out and break the ice with them, and I say like good evening to them all, and I say, come on, you're not going to upset me because I've got the ump already.
He's hoping his next break will be an appearance on a TV talent show. Rob Gillis, LWT News.
Well, no jokes about the weather. It's a holiday weekend that starts none too well. Gets better, then tails off again, I'm afraid. Well, tonight, mainly dry and quite warm and muggy with the temperature about 16 Celsius. That's 61 Fahrenheit. Tomorrow, cloud will build up from the northwest, bringing rain for most of the day. Inland, the wind will reach 20 miles an hour, but it'll still feel quite warm, about 20 Celsius, that's 68 Fahrenheit. About right for the time of year. Well, pity I can't say that about the weather as a whole. Sunday morning should be bright, though. Some sunshine, just 1 or 2 showers later on, and the day should be as warm as Saturday, 20 Celsius. The bank holiday itself looks a bit disappointing. A degree or 2 cooler, about 17 or 18 Celsius, with the winds changing to westerly and a few showers likely. But I'm sure you'll make the best of it. We're back tomorrow just after 1 o'clock. Good night to you.
When Emma and Nigel, a yuppie couple, meet Sean, a mere mortal, that's where the laughs begin. Square Deal, next weekend on LWT.
Freestyle mousse was the first, and for me, the best mousse. But now there's a mousse that's even better. It's new Freestyle from L'Oreal. Its unique micro-diffuser gives better control. More volume, more hold without stickiness. New Freestyle mousse from L'Oreal.
New Freestyle mousse, lasting hold without stickiness.
To celebrate Diet Coke's even better taste with 100% NutraSweet, we're giving it away, free! See next Saturday's press for details.
May the windowsills of Winchester shine. May the doors of Wales dry hard as nails. May Derby's walls dry even. Cover well. The walls of Birmingham, white clean of tea and ham, and the skirting boards of pine have a long line. So brush in hand, General Rains this land, with the best
Hello? Anthony? Oh, congratulations on your exam results.
Grandma, I failed.
You failed? What do you mean you failed?
I mean I failed. Maths, English, physics, geography, German, woodwork, art. I failed.
You didn't pass anything?
Pottery.
Pottery? Very useful. Anthony, people will always need plates. Anything else?
And sociology.
Anology? He gets an ology and he says he's failed. You get an ology, you're a scientist.
Whether it's well done or hard luck, a phone call says a lot.
The most brilliant boys, the teachers who are wrong, you know, they can't mark. A lot of them can't see.
British Telecom. It's you we answer to.
Fit Duracell in any radio and it will far outlast ordinary SP batteries. Used 4 hours daily, ordinary batteries founder in around 7 weeks. Still in the North Atlantic. While Duracell are playing and playing and still playing well over 4 months later. And that's to the other side of the world. Duracell. No ordinary battery looks like it or lasts like it.
Do It All are doing £16 off the Rollinson Super Shed, £4 off 10 Sophia ceramic tiles, and £3 off selected Swiss Nova curtain poles. And that's not all you get from Do It All.
Do you drink that all the time?
Not all the time. 1% alcohol, 100% tenants.
Welcome to the massive Olympic Stadium in West Berlin for the Grand Prix final. The athletes started scoring in San Jose, California at the end of May. And now, after 17 meetings, including Oslo, London, Leningrad and Zurich, the time's come to crown and reward the champions. But for Sebastian Coe, this meeting's a first chance to emerge from the sad failure of the Olympic trials.